Hi, hey, it's Dell Jackson. We got LO Hoops preview February 12th, Super Bowl today, Andy. I mean, let's get it out of the way. What's your pick today?
Uh, my team came from 17 down yesterday to beat Wisconsin. That's sort of my only focus for this weekend. I couldn't listen. I couldn't begin to tell you the first thing about the NFL over the last couple of years. I don't know. So I think the Eagles are a little bit fool's gold with whatever their record is. I think they only got like one loss. I mean, I don't know. Hurts got benched when he was at Alabama, so I don't know. Who knows?
Okay.
I'm gonna weasel out of an official pick.
Okay.
So
All right. Well, we got some official picks from you a little bit later on in the show. So
yes.
it's all good. So hey, we're here. You and I, instead of doing all these write-ups that we do normally, I thought we would just chit chat about the games and people could watch and fast forward and hit the mute button, whatever they want to do. So let's
Yep.
talk about Monday's matchups. We got four games going in the yellow quarterfinals. We're back to eight teams instead of the 10 that we had last year. We had those playing games because of 5 sections, but now we're back to two teams per each section. And you and I have talked a lot. The league it's pretty even this year. So let's go down the list. We'll go what I have on the website, first games, and we'll go right down the list. So we got Mennonite at section 4, runner up at Hempfield, section 1, champ. All right, go ahead.
This is a really underrated matchup, I think, just in the sense that I've said before, I think Hempfield, well, it's been proven, I would say, by the district PowerPoints that Hempfield is far and away the best 6A team that we have. They're probably, I would expect them to probably at least make the semis, I would say, of districts, which obviously will be a next week issue for them. But Mennonite, with their win over Columbia, really, I think, captured a lot of people just in how dominant it was. Not to say that they obviously couldn't do it, but I said this the other night too. Like, I think that win, when I'm looking at Mennonite and being in 2A, I mean, they don't want me saying this probably, but I think they're a shoe in to win districts for 2A here. And then like that was a big win state-wise because I know Columbia was pretty high up there in 3A state stuff. Trinity is going to be a nuisance for them to get past with. I see what they're doing in 3A, but I mean, that was a big win for Mennonite in the 2A ranks. And this is the quintessential type. You want to believe in the little guy, but usually the big boys end up stealing the day type of thing. I think Hempfield's on a quest. This will be their third attempt at it if they can get back to township. You don't want to say someone deserves it because that makes it sound like they just should get it without anyone interfering. But if Hempfield doesn't deserve it this year, I'm not sure who does based on the way the last two finals went for them. And they went unbeaten in section 1. And like I said, that has to count for something as well. I'm going to say Hempfield wins by like 12 is my gut feeling on it. I think playing at Hempfield makes a difference. If it was down at the Loud House, I would be a little bit more nervous. But I think Hempfield is your prohibitive favorite the whole way through this week, I would say. So in order to get to township, they got to get past step 1. And I think they'll get past step 1 for Mennonite, like I said, by like 12 or 10 or something like that. It'll be a good game. It should be.
Let me ask you this just on that game, and we'll leave this game here in a minute. But what does Mennonite have to do to pull an upset?
They have to win the battle inside. I think it's gonna be a battle between Lawrence and Weaver, and whoever can win that matchup inside, I think is really gonna. If Weaver can do that, I would I would say Mennonite has a better shot. I know Hurst had a big game in his game back the other night, but yeah, I would say it's probably going to be the battle inside, and if they can get contributions from the Little Hurst, that's also going to help as well. I know he had a big game when we saw them against Steel High. Summerall, I know, has been putting up a lot of numbers. If they can get contributions from literally everybody else and really have Weaver hold down the fort inside, I would say they got a shot. But I think we've kind of grown accustomed to seeing Miguel Pena kind of take things over, and I think you can pretty well bank on that. It's just going to be how does Mennonite mitigate the damage elsewhere from Hempfield, I would say. So
Okay, good stuff there. Cam Hurst coming back. He's only played a couple games, which surprised me, but we've seen him twice on our live streams here. Let's go to game number 2 in that bracket. We got Warwick, Section 2 runner-up at LS, which is incredible because LS just wins. I mean, they lost their top player, who I looked at the stats the other day. Before he got hurt, he was like 24 points a game, Andy. You take 24 points a game out of anybody's lineup, and it's like you got to go backwards. But here we are. So go ahead. We got Warwick and LS at LS.
I picked LS, and I don't feel great about it. This is, to me, this is the most coin flip game of the night tomorrow on Monday. I picked LS, but I'm going to say the final score is going to be 58-56. I don't know who. I guess LS because I picked them. But, like, you're right. Every time you think, okay, fate is finally going to catch up to LS. Like, they can't keep doing this, but they keep doing this. And I think playing at home makes a big difference. They always make shots at home, it seems. They can get into their groove. You know the student section is going to be on Warwick. So, yeah, I just like LS by a smidge. My gut says LS. It does. Because until proven otherwise, there's no reason to really pick against them.
What do you think are the key matchups for the Warwick LS? I mean, you and I have both seen these teams multiple times, and LS had a big win against Acarrera the other night. Warwick, to me, just seems to be knocking on the door, but they never seem to get that great big win. So this could be a chance for that. So what do you think are the key matchups here in this game?
Biggest thing, like, I know Caleb Johnson had a big night against Central when I was over there on Thursday night. He had, I forget what it was on the top of my head, like 24, 25, something like that. He's obviously a capable player. I think your matchup again is going to be inside. Warwick is not overly big. They're not overly, girthy. Can they hit shots? I mean, Horst is going to have a big game, I think. Your Majesty Washington, he had a solid game against Central. He's going to have to step up in his first, playoff game. I think the key to this one is going to be Luke Hines, honestly. I know the kid has I say stolen, but he's earned all of our gear. I mean, he's got the beanie, the long sleeve, the T-shirt. He's got it all. I don't know what else we can possibly give him. I guess we need to figure out socks or something for next year. But he's going to be the key. Like I said, he's the big guy inside. I know. It was funny. We were talking before. You've seen everybody pretty many times, but like I've only covered Hempfield once. I've only seen Mennonite once. I've only seen LS once. Like I've seen everybody else who's kind of not playing this week. And I've only seen LS one time. And Hines, I think you can speak to him again, because you're the one handing him out all the swag. But like his ability to step out and then also bang inside, I think he's going to be the key. If he has a big night, LS is going to be, they're going to be right there. And can Warwick knock down shots? That's going to be the whole thing. Like I know against Central, they were sputtering in the first half and they kind of let Trey Grube go nuts. But I would say player-wise, Luke Hines is going to be the key factor in this whole matchup. Either way.
Okay, I know. Luke likes to see me when I show up to the games. I know that. So he's had a couple big games and nights that we've seen him. I know. As far as LS, Chase Smucker is a sophomore, and he is very, very fast, very skilled. He seems to me to be a guy that kind of glues them a little bit. And with LS, they are not bashful shooting threes. And you and I have covered them for the last couple of years. But this team, again, they go penetration, kick out. And then Luke Hines, what makes him difficult, Andy, is one, he's a good competitor. He really is. He reminds me of the Atkinson kid from Catholic a couple of years ago. And he's left-handed. So he gets in a post, and I'm sitting there. When I see him up top and he gets the ball, I say he's going to roll back to his left, and he rolls back to his left, and then he rolls back to his right. And that kind of helps them inside. So on Warwick's end, they got a lot of players that are, I don't know, Andy, that are like this. They're all 6'1"ish. They're
Right.
all kind of built the same. They all kind of play the same. And they need, I'm with you. The horse kid needs to have a big game scoring. And, I really like the Jensen. I like him a lot. He's a sophomore. So the thing with Warwick is they have 0 seniors on his team.
Right.
So, it'll be interesting, and it's a tough place to play at LS. And I'm covering that game, so I'm kind of excited to see that game. All right, let's shift over to the what we call the bottom bracket. They got a top bracket and a bottom bracket, so bottom doesn't mean anything really. You got Octorara, a runner-up in Section 3 to LS, and then you got Mannheim Central, who just won the crown, first time for a while, I think, Andy. So you wrote the story on them. So let's get your take on Octorara and Mannheim Central.
Biggest thing in this game, and I talked to Coach Fisher after the game about this. I was like, listen, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer tonight, but you guys have kind of really ridden this roller coaster all year to where you have the big win over Warwick, you lose to E-Town. You come back from CV, and like, it's for them, it's going to be the whole thing of like, yes, we achieved our goal that we set out. We wanted to win the section, which meant we had to knock off Warwick, which they did twice. How can they parlay that success into playing Octorara on Monday night? It's a big thing playing at home for them. If we're talking about matchups here and what's going to kind of be the secret sauce, Hamilton for Octorara has to be, he has to, I don't know, 15 or so. I would say you have to get from him. I would say you can bank on Kirk getting at least 15. It's going to be, and Coach Lambert has talked about this before, it's going to be what can the cast around them do? If you're going to, you can pretty well bank, I would say, on those two big guys leading the way, scoring, but what can Roberts do? What can Thaler do? Like what can Lambert do? Like how are they going to be able to get those pieces, get those points from other areas where I don't want to say you don't expect it, but like some of those other key contributors, if they can get like 7, if they can get 6, 8 from that cast, they're going to be right there at the very end. For Central, obviously, Grube is, he's probably going to go off again. He's shown up in every single big game this year for Central. He showed up in a big way on Thursday to win the section outright. I haven't been bashful in the way how much I've said I like Aaron Interline. Just an athletic freak, really. The human pogo stick. For Octorara, it's going to be what can they get from the supporting cast, and like what are they going to do in kind of a weird type of atmosphere at that elementary school, to where it's like you only got the grandstands on one side, you got nobody. It's just a weird deal. It's just a weird deal. I know they had another win yesterday. They were the only ones playing yesterday. They beat Holy Ghost. So they're coming in a good way. And so is Central. I think Central at home. But these are two teams, really, now that I'm talking about it out loud, that really just go through the ebbs and flows of the season, probably more so than any of the 8 teams. And they just so happen to be matching up against each other. So like which one of the two is going to show up? Really, that's probably at the end of the day what's going to make the difference tomorrow night.
Yeah, looking at it from afar here, I haven't seen Central play too much, but I've seen Octorara a couple of times, and Octorara has the one thing looking at these other teams that nobody else has, and that's in Hamilton as an inside and an outside player and a shot blocker. He's probably the best shot blocker in any of these 8 teams. I think that's just me personally. So
Enterline might have something to say about that.
Maybe, but I think Hamilton overall, because Hamilton's got a overall better package, but I think Hamilton's good inside, and if he can stay out of foul trouble, that's gonna help him. Octorara's used to playing in a small gym. You've been down with the fans, and they close the one side off, and they're used to playing in a smaller gym. So I think that's going to help them when they go to Central. Central seems to have a little magic dust this year, and I think that's going to help them. So that's going to be an interesting game. We have David Keller, who's from he covers a lot of our District 1 Philly teams. He's gonna make the trip from down there to cover this game for him. I'm looking forward to that. He has his write-ups on our website for various games. He said he really wanted to see an LL game, so I think he'll get it going. Let's go to the last game here. Cedar Crest, which is Section 1 runner-up, versus Columbia, which is Section 4 champ via the tiebreaker PowerPoints. All right. Hey, you've covered. I've watched Crest a lot. You've watched Columbia a lot. So we can compare notes here, buddy.
This is every year there's this matchup where it's like, this is the definition of why this tournament is so cool and as unique as it is. Crest has done a remarkable job closing this season out. And when I say that, that means that they've obviously played in big games this whole way through on this nice little stretch that they're on. It was a do or die game against McCaskey. You look at the power rankings, McCaskey's probably locked out of everything. They're obviously locked out of leagues because we're not talking about them today, but they're right there below the cut line. So like that was do or die for both of those teams. So, and that was at McCaskey too. And they have a nice little rivalry going on. So it's not that they're going to be intimidated by a different atmosphere or anything like that, but like this is different. Like this is so different from anything they've ever experienced before. I always equate it to this. Like I was a Section 1 boy. Like that's the world I know. Like we're used to the fancy chairs and everything on the bench, and like you're sitting on a bench and like people are going to be like coming through you to go out to the bathroom or get a Starburst or just like this is going to be different. I picked Crest in this game. I literally have no idea what to expect in this game. I have no idea. I could see honestly, I could see either one of these teams winning by 20. I really could. The reason why I picked Crest is that Columbia game it just scares me a little bit. Like that, just how much that Mennonite game, like how much it got away from them. You know, that was the biggest game that they were going to play all year. And like, Mennonite just took it to them. Normally I wouldn't make a big deal about that because everyone has those like, you know, weird, those games, like there's one or two games every year where like you play well below yourselves, way above yourselves. But like, it just came at the most inopportune time because now you got Crest rolling in. And this is, again, the quintessential big boy, small guy type of matchup. They haven't seen height like this. They haven't seen size like this. The atmosphere is going to be what is going to help Columbia through if they can do this. This is a pivotal moment for them, I think. Like I said, that Mennonite game, on the outside, it shook me a little bit. Just kind of, it caught me by surprise again, just how different it was. But again, on the other side, the other team they're playing, Cedar Crest, they also had sort of this same moment. And I saw that game against Wilson. Like if you walking out of that game, there was no way any of this was going to happen. Like not a chance. They just like, it just seemed like they were trying to push buttons and pull levers and like, it just wasn't working. And to Tommy's credit, man, he figured it out. I mean, he got it done. They got into leagues. They finished strong. This is the epitome of what makes this tournament the way it is. This matchup right here. This is going to be fun. I'm glad I'm going to it. I don't know maybe I have to get there now. I have no idea. Like, cause they're going to be lining up. But yeah, I'll go out on a limb and I'll say the winner of this game, whoever it is tomorrow night, is a Township on Friday night. That's how much I believe in either one of these two teams. I'm just picking Crest. Just again, like I said, with momentum and the way both teams are coming in, and cream usually rises to the top, and it's usually the big boys. So, but like I said, I could see this game going in a variety of different ways. It's going to be wild. It's going to be wild up there.
The one thing I will say for Coach Glover at Columbia, he is not afraid to schedule. I mean,
right.
They're in Section 4, which isn't a lot of competition overall for them. especially for bigger aspirations. And last year
Right.
they hit a district title, and this year, looking at it, I know you've talked to some of the kids, and they're like, "Well, what's the matter with us? We're still Columbia, and we're still, somebody got to knock us off." So he does a real good job of scheduling in different places and playing bigger schools and showing up for those games. I mean, he's won just about everything, so that's interesting. Um, let me ask you this, and then I'll go to Cedar Crest because I've seen them a ton this
Mhm.
year. So give me some key players for Columbia and what they have to do to win Monday night.
Artie Poindexter, Braylon Miller, Michael Poole. Those are going to be your three big stalwarts for Columbia. And again, they're going to have to feed off of that crowd, because what I've seen so many times before, it doesn't matter if it's a Section 4 team, if it's one of those non-con games that they schedule, whether it's like a Camp Hill, it doesn't matter. Inevitably, teams get suckered into playing Columbia's style when then they probably don't want to. So, like, if Columbia's going to get up and down the floor, if they make a couple threes from Poole or Poindexter or whomever, don't be surprised if maybe Cedar Crest comes down and jacks a couple quick shots. And then, as you know, okay, maybe those are one or two empty trips, but that can turn into like a 10-0 run, and you get that place going nuts, and then you're fighting uphill the whole way through. So, again, Columbia, you guys are going to have to show out and be the sixth man for them tomorrow, because, like I said, the momentum and that gym is going to be the difference. If this was a Crest, this is a no-brainer Crest victory. It's just this atmosphere. This is the atmosphere I say we got. They're going to have to propel them, and like I said, for Cedar Crest, it's going to be making sure they don't get suckered into that, and they play too fast if they don't want to play too fast. And again, with that small court, I know they like to do the Lebanon County offense, the penetrating pitch and whatever. Make sure.
Lebanon County offense. I love it.
But like, make sure you ain't standing on the sidelines when you catch the ball. Like
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's different. It's just different. But yeah, it's the Poindexter, Miller, and Poole, I think, are going to be the big guys for Columbia. And if they're making shots and that place gets nuts, look out, because I can get away from you real quick. So
yeah. On the Cedar Crest side, I don't even know how many times I've seen them. But I've seen them recently a couple times, maybe 5 times total. But they have all of a sudden found the range from 3-point line, and most of it has been from my boy Javion, which Mr. Spellchecker just kills me when I text, when I'm on the Twitter, and I know his name. So anybody that hits me up and says, "Hey, you got the name wrong," we found out that Mr. Twitter is very difficult to edit. Once he's out there in the world, you can delete the whole thing, but it's very difficult to edit that, unlike what we do on the website. So him hitting threes, that's number one. Number two, I think Crest has a huge advantage inside. Now, they got Champ, and they got Fernando Marquez. He's like a 6'1" power forward type of guy. Another left-hander. So I don't, that is one thing that you can't teach: size and physicality. So let me ask you this: they're the key guys for me as we look. I think Crest obviously is deeper. I've seen him play 10 guys. Tommy seems to be playing more guys, and more younger guys are getting in there. Speaks kid, the young kid, they're kind of mixing some different flavors in than what we've seen in the beginning of the year. So the question I would have, and you will be at this game, the question I would have is, does a quick whistle help or hurt which team? Like, in other words, when we saw Columbia at Mennonite, one of the first things that happened to Columbia is they got in foul trouble. And then they don't have a deep bench. I mean, I'm sorry, they have players, but they're not playing 10 kids. And I think that really kind of messed them up overall from the game that I saw. And then Cedar Crest, sometimes when their guys get in foul trouble, that kind of messes them up too, because they're used to certain things. So what do you think? A quick whistle as opposed to let's let them play type of whistle?
if it's going to be officiated tight and there's going to be stoppages and like no flow, it's going to favor Cedar Crest because without that hidden momentum of like someone getting into a lather and firing off like a 10-0 run or something, which I'm going to say is probably going to come from Columbia, again based on how they play and how fast they are. It's like anything, if you disrupt the flow, it's going to inevitably come to like the Jimmies and Joes, because it's going to be just straight up basketball. It's not, it's if it's going to be a half court game or whatever it is, if it's not going to be 94 feet all night, it's going to come down to who has the better players. And like you said, Crest is deeper, they're bigger. There's section 1, which again has to account for something, I would say. They've been through it. They've been put through the ringer. Like they've been playing in the playoffs literally for the last like however many weeks, because
7 games, the coach said.
Right. I mean, they've been in the playoffs without officially being in the playoffs for these last couple of weeks. So like, I don't want to say it's old hat, because again, this is going to be, I know I'm a broken record, but this is going to be so much different than what they've seen before. It just is. And again, as long as they don't get suckered into the, taking quick shots and that sort of thing, they should be fine. But like I said, this is going to be so wild. Like I said, I could see this going a number of different ways for either team for the end result. So
I can't wait for your write-up. I can't.
I don't know what time I'm getting out of there either.
Well, that's okay. That's all right. Everybody should get there early, and for all these games. Semifinals will be at Conestoga Valley. The tip-off for the first game is 5:30, and the second game is at 7. So that seemed to work last year. I know you and I were at the game, and you and I tag teamed the game. So that seemed to work fairly well as far as fan flow. A lot of people have problems getting there early, and it just kind of a lot of people left, and it seemed to work out pretty well. I know you and I have feelings on that. I mean, you and I obviously, for reasons just for us, love to see that double team, the double header. I mean, so we're seeing big schools, we're seeing a little momentum, and everybody gets to see the schools. And I think from a fan's point of view, that's really good, really good. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it from a fan perspective, I think you can't do any better than having the Final Four play at one spot back to back. There is kind of like I always like the little bit of mystery when like teams, like when we were at like single sites for the semis where like everyone's checking their phone, like, trying to follow along, like what's going on in the other game type of thing. Like that's always kind of fun. But yeah, I think from a fan perspective, you can't do any better than having everybody play at one place. And to your point, we see a lot of the same familiar faces at like section 1 schools all the time. And like, they're going to get a chance to see, maybe a Central who they haven't seen, or an Octorara who they, I'm sure they haven't seen at all, type of thing. So yeah, it's going to be good. And then, if you can, I don't know how they're going to, necessarily do it for like the crowd, like, hey, do you have to leave to bring the other people? I'm not sure how it's going to work, but I mean, inevitably, if you get like a rival school playing in the first game and their rival in the second game, maybe they'll stick around and be a little, not so friendly in terms of helping the other team's opposition, come the whole way through. But it's cool. I mean, I have no complaints about it. I could have it either way too, whether they want to go singles or whatever. But I mean, CV is the right place to host it. It's centrally located. It's right by the city. So like, it's right by headquarters. If people are working in Lancaster, it's a relatively easy trip to make, albeit at 5:30 type of thing. So yeah, I mean, it's a proven formula. I think it works. Yeah, I have no beef about it. That's a little early though. I didn't know it was starting at 5:30. But
yeah, that's what they did last year too. And part of it is just the league doesn't want people out late, I guess. I mean, we do the same thing for the finals, which I always have. I have a little bone with that one. It's like, okay, we're going through Lidditz. We're going to Manheim Township on a Friday night. We're coming off Route 30 for me, coming north, and it's a nightmare, one, for traffic. and Township's got the new school, and they got concrete between the parking lots, and you got 3 different parking lots, and I just, the nice thing with me is I'm getting there really, really, really early and setting up our live stream, and that's good for me. But I just feel bad for people coming in, and I know it's always a late show. I'd like to see us push that back. It's a Friday night game, and it really doesn't matter if you're getting out of the gym at 9:30 or 10. It really, for that. But that's just me. I mean, the league does well. They let us in. So we can't complain too much. And Township's it's a pretty cool place to do that. The Township gym is interesting. They got that top, and they've done so well with selling tickets to that game. So as you and I have talked in the past, the LL tournament, for whatever reason, compare it to Berks, compare it to Mid-Penn, maybe York's close to us as far as the enthusiasm it generates on that side of the river. But in your mind, what makes our tournament, this LL tournament, so special?
I think we're a pretty cohesive unit. Section 1 through 4 or 5, or however many sections we're going to have or have had previously. The other thing that's nice, and I was thinking about, that this question might come up today too. It's like, I think, obviously I'm biased, but I think we clearly do it better than the other, 3 conferences in our District 3 footprint.
Yeah.
If you look at like York this year, right? Like they played Friday, which started. So it's like, okay, yeah, Friday night playoffs makes sense. They're playing Valentine's night, which it's like, okay, if you're a degenerate like me, like you're going to go to the high school game anyway, but with it being V-Day night, like are people going to be out on dates type of thing? It's on a Tuesday. And then I'm pretty sure their finals are on a Thursday. And it's like, okay, like it doesn't pack the same punch as a Friday, right? The Mid-Penn, like, I don't want to say it's an inconvenience, but like we've talked to Mid-Penn people this year and before, and it's like, yeah, like we want to get it, like it'd be cool, but like we're not crawling over broken glass to
Right.
get it type of thing. Like we want to, like we got bigger goals. We're the Mid-Penn. We can stick our chest out, and rightly so. Yeah, it's not a big deal over there. And then Reading and Berks, like they're the closest ones to us, but remember they got that like kind of jacked up thing where it's like, well, what are the seeds and like who's gonna, and it's like, unless it's somebody like me or like a Drago or somebody who's seen a lot of these teams or every team, like who's qualified to like make an assessment like that? Like I don't get it. It's just weird. Like, so yeah. But anyway.
Oh my gosh, I don't know. That just I don't know. I mean, I think we've seen some of the teams from Reading this year. I mean, we have, because we see some crossover games. We've seen Wilson. We've seen Reading on some of the live streams that Bruce has done for us. I've seen Wilson. Wilson's good. To me, there's maybe 3 or 4 teams. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe there's 2 teams that can play with Reading. Maybe, but I don't know. I don't know. I know there's some good teams in Berks, and then probably, looking at Berks Catholic, they could probably make a good run at the districts. I think also Wilson plays the type of game that can give Reading fits if they meet in the districts. And I know they're in different brackets, but that thing at the end where they decide who plays who is at
Right.
least the LL, what's going on. It's like, you win, this is where you're going. Here's your PowerPoints.
Right.
This is what, there's no politics involved. And, I kind of like that. Let's end on this. Let's end on a little plug for LL 50 years of LL basketball. I know you wrote a chapter. Tell everybody what your part of the book was.
Sure. So I wrote about the 2010s up until present day, which was last year, the bookend of the 50th year. And basically my prevailing theme that I wrote about was how we've had some really damn good teams that have gone on to success, whether it's in districts, but really in states, but just kind of came up short. I know the McCaskey team with Kobe Gantz, they almost beat Roman Catholic. And I will go to my grave saying if they beat Roman Catholic that night, they would have won their first state championship in the very next game. They were better than that Lincoln team that Roman played at Hershey. Um, Cedar Crest running into York 2 years in a row in the district final. Obviously, the Donegal team, which will never be forgotten about as long as people like me keep rehashing the story. The Mennonite team of what was that 2018 they got the very last slot. They went west, and as we've seen, if you want to go somewhere, you want to go west. It's just better. And then they went to Altoona twice, and then lost to Tyler Zimmerman's 3 at the buzzer at Chambersburg that kept them from the state final. I don't know if they would have beaten Newman Goretti, but they would have gotten to the state final. But yeah, that was kind of the prevailing theme of like how we've had some really, really good teams that just, I don't know, it kind of makes them stand out a little bit more in terms of lore and stuff like that, to where maybe they exceeded their expectations, like the Cacalico team of the COVID year. Mm-hmm. I mean, they were 3 games away from the state finals. Mm-hmm. And like, this is not a knock on Cacalico by any stretch, but like, I don't know if they're ever going to find themselves in that position again. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, they won a state championship, which I know we chronicled in the book before, but that was almost 50 years ago. So yeah, it's just mentioning how like we've had some really good teams and how tough it is to get through this state to, have that banner and have that trophy and do those, remarkable things. So yeah.
It was interesting. I get on, you and I obviously are on Twitter an awful lot, and they were a couple guys were yipping back and forth about Cedar Crest, and I think the flag's in their gym, but I almost wanted to say, it's like, look, buy the book, and we got all the LL 1,000-point scorers in the list on the book someplace. So, and that was compliments of what we did and what John Walk provided for us. So, we pulled in Mike Gross, we pulled in Gordy Jones, we pulled in John Walk and yourself, and we had a lot of cool interviews. So, I'll keep pumping it online, and then hopefully we can get some sales. And I don't know if we should take some to the finals. I don't know. We'll talk about that. Maybe I got a couple copies here. Maybe we could sell a couple, but if anybody has any and they want to get an autograph, then we'll be there to autograph it. So it's all good. Hey, thank you, brother. Have a good day today. And, looking forward to some really great write-ups this week. I did want to tell you that we have Mark 22 doing our semis for photos. And we have he's going to do the finals as well. So we should have a lot of coverage here from at least our little LO Hoops website. So thank you, buddy, for everything.
Go
ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I appreciate that. And it should be a fun week. This is always the week where I'm the most hated man locally because I picked against your team. And I'm sure Coach Walk probably doesn't like me too much because I'm putting a bullseye on his team's back because I think they're going to win it. But let's be honest, if this were in Vegas, like they'd probably be the odds on favorite, at least entering the week to eventually get it done. But no, it's always a good time. We've talked about this, before, but like this was always kind of set. It's just for a couple weeks now. Like it's just a matter of like who's going to get slotted in what slots. And I would say by and large, this kind of went according to script. Like before the season, there's not a ton of surprises really in here. Honestly, the surprise might be LS. Like I don't know.
Well, LS because they got hurt, but you talked about them in our pre-show. I mean, I think in your pre-show, this is when we did the preview early in the year and back in November, back in December, we talked about all these teams. In fact, you picked Central for section 2. I know you did. So, good for you and good for the teams that made it.
Yeah, no. And the other thing real quick too, is like this, I think we have pretty much all the star power that our league can offer is in this tournament, which is good too. I know we don't, Henson from Township isn't in it, or Benny, or even Toby Ashby from Country Day, who the kid's putting up like 20 plus like every night. And like, I don't know if people are just missing that or whatever, because it's Country Day, but yeah, like a lot of our star power is in this tournament. So like, there's nobody really missing. in that respect. So like all of our heavy hitters are here this week. So go out to one of the 4 sites on Monday, show up at CV on Wednesday, and then yeah, try to figure out which parking lot I guess you're going to park at Township on Friday, and we'll see you over there.
All right.
So
All right, my man. Looking forward to your write-ups this week. Thank you, man.
Yep. See ya.